Emma Nolan hadn't slept in 2 days. The fluorescent buzz of the motel hallway lights outside her door seeped through the cracks like a warning. She lay stiff on the edge of the mattress, one hand still holding the crumpled eviction notice like a useless shield. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the judge's gavel, heard the word unfit, and felt the sting of her children being pulled away as if someone had ripped her soul out by the roots. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. She hadn't seen her son Caleb's face in over a month. Her daughter, little Maddie, had stopped calling her mommy on the last supervised visit and now just stared blankly at her, fingers clenched into fists around her jacket zipper like she was trying to keep herself zipped shut. The court-appointed psychologist had said Emma needed time and space to heal. But it wasn't Emma who had fractured. It was everything else. She knew what they thought. That she was crazy. That she was angry. That she was dangerous. Let them think that. It gave her cover. The cheap motel room smelled of mildew and failed dreams. Her phone buzzed beside her, lighting up the cracked screen. Unknown number. She stared at it, heart accelerating. No one ever called anymore. Buzzed again. Then stopped. Emma sat up slowly, legs dangling off the side of the bed. The little folder she kept in her purse, her only real possession now, sat on the dresser. Inside it, she had printed custody forms, a copy of her old lease, and a photo of her kids from the last time they all laughed together in the kitchen. That was 3 months before the nightmare began. Right before Derek's lies took everything. Derek Nolan, her ex-husband, the man who once bought her sunflowers every Monday, who cried when Maddie was born, who held her hand while she vomited from morning sickness, and who now sat in a 3-story home with custody of their kids, the family dog, and a restraining order barring her from the street they used to call theirs. The restraining order. That had been the final move in a perfectly played game of legal chess. But he didn't know everything. He didn't know about the camera. Emma stood and walked to her duffel bag. At the bottom, wrapped in one of Caleb's old superhero t-shirts, was a small hard drive, black, unlabeled. She had nearly forgotten it herself until last week, when she saw the electrician's invoice on the kitchen counter during her last supervised visit, an invoice that reminded her of the renovation they'd done last spring. She remembered the day it was installed like a dream. Derek had insisted on wiring the house with a new smart security system, and Emma, half listening while making pancakes, had suggested they install a baby cam in the nursery wall. In case of emergencies, she'd said. Derek brushed it off. But she bought one anyway. Tiny, disguised as an outlet plate, motion-activated, and cloud backup enabled. Then she forgot about it, until everything fell apart. She had never checked the footage. Never needed to. But now she needed proof. Proof that Derek's charm was just that. A mask. Proof that she hadn't imagined the coldness that crept into his voice after the promotion, the gaslighting, the way Maddie flinched when voices rose. Emma's fingers trembled as she plugged the hard drive into her battered laptop. The screen flickered. The folders loaded. March 15th. March 18th. March 22nd. She clicked randomly, watching a grainy video of the nursery. The crib was empty. Then a blur. Derek's figure entered. He leaned over, whispering something to Maddie. Emma turned up the volume. The audio crackled. Your mom is confused again. If she comes in here, don't listen to her. She'll try to trick you, baby. She lies a lot, okay? Emma blinked. Her breath caught. He was manipulating their daughter. She clicked forward. April 2nd. Derek again. This time pacing. She's becoming a problem. If we push a little harder, we can get her committed, he said, on the phone. I already talked to Martin. He said he can write something up for the judge. Martin. Their old neighbor. Child psychologist. The same one who had given a neutral statement during the hearing. Emma's pulse pounded. She clicked forward. April 10th. Derek and Amanda. The new girlfriend. In her house. Wearing Emma's robe. No, it's easy now. The judge bought the whole emotional instability story. With that report and the photos of the pills, we've got her buried. Amanda laughed. You're good, Derek. I'm just thorough. Now let's toast to full custody. Emma stared at the screen. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow gasps. She had the evidence. She had them. But now she needed to move fast. She copied the clips to a flash drive. Not everything, just enough. The worst parts. The damning parts. She needed someone on her side. Someone who wouldn't think she was crazy. Someone who might actually help. She remembered someone. Maya Harper, an investigative journalist who had covered a local corruption case 2 years ago. Emma had met her briefly at a fundraiser and remembered she had a soft spot for mothers in trouble. Emma dug through her contacts and found the number. With shaking hands, she texted, "This is Emma Nolan. I have footage that could ruin a man's life and save 2 children. Please, meet me." There was no reply for 20 minutes. Then, "Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Café Rojo. Come alone." Emma collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. But for the first time in months, she felt something strange. Something unfamiliar. Oh. The next morning was cold and gray, the kind of sky that made everything feel heavier. Emma wrapped Caleb's t-shirt around the flash drive and tucked it into her bra. Her coat didn't quite zip over her hoodie, but she didn't care. She wasn't here to look put together. She was here to burn the lie down. Café Rojo was nearly empty. A barista wiped down the counter as jazz played softly overhead. Emma spotted Maya immediately. Black coat, thick glasses, laptop open, and a half-drunk espresso beside her. "Emma Nolan," Maya said as Emma sat down. Her voice was calm, direct. "You said you had something." Emma didn't waste time. She slid the flash drive across the table. "Watch it. Then tell me I'm crazy." Maya plugged it in and scrolled through. 2 minutes in, her eyes widened. She adjusted her glasses. 4 minutes in, her lips parted slightly. At 6 minutes, she looked up. "Emma, this is explosive." Emma didn't answer. Maya leaned in. "If what I'm seeing is real, and I believe it is, this isn't just a custody issue. This is obstruction, perjury, falsifying mental health documents. You could reopen your entire case." Emma swallowed. "Can you help me?" Maya nodded slowly. "I'll need to vet this. Back up the files. Speak to my legal team. But yes, can help. And when we go public, Derek's reputation will be radioactive." Emma exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. But Maya wasn't done. "You said there was more. Do you have anything else?" Emma nodded. "There's a cloud backup. I just have to find the login." "Find it," Maya said, her tone sharpening. "And keep this flash drive safe. If this is as real as I think, you're not just taking down a manipulative husband. You're exposing a system that let him get away with it." Emma nodded again, heart pounding. She wasn't going to beg anymore. She wasn't going to cry anymore. She was going to fight. And this time, she had the truth on her side. Emma didn't sleep that night. Again. She sat in the corner of her motel room with the thin curtains drawn shut and her laptop open, watching footage she had once lived through. But this time, she was no longer doubting herself. This time she was analyzing, timestamping, organizing. The baby monitor cam had captured more than she ever imagined. Long after the kids were asleep, Derek and Amanda would walk through the nursery, sometimes drunk, sometimes mid-argument. In one video, Amanda slammed a bottle on the dresser and hissed, "If they ever find out what you did with that trust fund." The camera didn't catch the end of the sentence. But it didn't have to. Emma paused it, rewound, played it again. That trust fund. There it was. Maddie's trust account had been funded by Emma's late grandmother's inheritance. Over $120,000 earmarked for her daughter's future. She'd never been allowed to see the bank statements after the divorce. Derek had claimed the account was safeguarded and locked for the children's protection. Emma had no power to contest it. She was mentally unstable, according to court-appointed experts. But now she had evidence. Not just of emotional manipulation. Not just of lies. Fraud. Emma stared at the screen until her eyes burned, then closed the laptop and rubbed her temples. She needed to move carefully now. Every step had to be calculated. One wrong move and Derek would bury her again, this time deeper than before. The next morning, she took the flash drive and walked back into Café Rojo. Maya was already there. 2 phones on the table and a notepad filled with scribbles. "I spent all night on this," Maya said without looking up. "This story is bigger than a custody battle." I reached out to a digital forensics contact. He verified the footage as authentic. Timestamps, metadata, all clean. "You've got gold, Emma." Emma folded her hands. "So what now? We go to war." Maya's plan was simple but dangerous. She would leak portions of the footage to her media contacts under embargo while working with her legal advisor to prepare a public report. The full drop would happen only after Emma filed a motion to reopen her custody case, armed not only with the videos, but with a forensic audit of the trust account and a signed affidavit from a second therapist willing to counter the original psychiatric claim. Emma hesitated. "A new therapist?" "I have someone," Maya said. "Neutral. Respected. If you're willing to be evaluated again, it could dismantle Derek's entire narrative." Emma didn't hesitate. "Schedule it." Over the next week, Emma threw herself into the process. She met with a therapist, Dr. Raina Sue, a calm, focused woman in her 60s who listened more than she spoke. Emma told her everything. The gaslighting, the accusations, the slow unraveling of her marriage, the way the system turned its back on her. Raina never judged, just asked, "How did you survive this?" Emma had to think about it. "I didn't. Not really. I just kept breathing." Raina smiled faintly. "That's survival too." 3 days later, Raina sent Maya a preliminary report. No signs of mental instability. No history of delusions. Previous diagnosis appears unsupported by sufficient evidence. Emma read the line over and over again, barely able to believe it. Her first clean report. But things were moving faster now than she expected. Maya texted her. "Leak drops Monday. Your move has to come first. File tomorrow." Emma walked into the courthouse at 8:05 a.m. sharp. She wore a borrowed blazer and a $12 pair of shoes from the thrift store, but her back was straight and her eyes were clear. She filed a motion to reopen the custody case on grounds of newly discovered evidence and fraudulent testimony. The clerk looked up after stamping the papers. "Do you have legal representation?" Emma didn't blink. "I will." That afternoon, Maya dropped the first clip online, a redacted version of Derek's conversation in the nursery. His voice telling Maddie not to trust her mother. The video was tweeted from Maya's verified account with the caption, "This is how some custody battles are won. Watch until the end." It exploded in less than 2 hours. Thousands of views. Retweets. Outrage. DMs from advocacy groups and news outlets flooded in. Emma shut off her phone, overwhelmed. But Derek didn't stay quiet for long. By that evening, he'd released a statement through his lawyer, accusing Emma of illegally recording private moments and manipulating footage out of context in a desperate attempt to reclaim custody she was deemed unfit for. Emma expected the backlash. She didn't expect Derek to show up at the motel. He banged on her door around 11:40 p.m. "Emma, open the door. We need to talk." She stayed silent. More banging. "You think this little stunt is gonna work? You're playing with fire, Emma." Emma grabbed her phone and recorded the audio through the door. "I swear to God if you don't drop this." The voice cut off suddenly. Then footsteps retreating. She waited 10 minutes before breathing again. The next day, Emma met with an attorney recommended by Maya, a woman named Sandra Coe, whose specialty was high-conflict custody reversals. Sandra watched the footage with a stone face. By the time it ended, she nodded slowly. "I can get your kids back. It won't be easy and it won't be pretty. But I can do it." Emma swallowed hard. "Do it." Sandra filed a supplemental motion for emergency relief, demanding immediate suspension of Derek's custody based on credible evidence of coercion and fraud. Then she added something bold. A motion for primary custody to be awarded to Emma pending review. The hearing was scheduled for Friday. 3 days. 3 days of silence. 3 days of shaking hands, closed blinds, and Maya texting her updates every hour. Second leak dropped. Trust fund embezzlement clip. It's trending. The old court psychologist just issued a statement denying any bias. Our doc is preparing to counter. You're on 3 podcasts by name. Emma paced the motel floor like a caged animal. She was terrified, not of Derek but of Hope. She had seen it crushed too many times. But this time was different. On Friday morning, she stood outside the courthouse, heart thudding against her ribs, staring at the stone pillars and the people passing by. Reporters hovered nearby. One tried to take her picture. Maya waved them off. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Derek was already there, flanked by his legal team, a tight-lipped Amanda beside him. He didn't even look at Emma. Sandra leaned toward her. You're going to speak. Direct. Don't flinch. And don't look at him unless the judge asks you to. Emma nodded. The judge entered. This hearing will address the emergency motion to suspend custody and the petition to reopen proceedings. The formalities blurred together. Then Sandra stood, presenting the video evidence first, each clip carefully timed. The judge watched silently as Derek's voice echoed through the room. We push a little harder, we can get her committed. She lies a lot, okay? With that report and the pills, we've got her buried. A low ripple moved through the gallery. Derek's lawyer tried to object, but Sandra overrode him with calm precision. Then Emma took the stand. She was sworn in, hands shaking slightly, but her voice never wavered. I didn't fight back sooner because I thought no one would believe me. 'Cause everyone said I was broken. But I wasn't. I was just scared. And I knew if I pushed too hard, I'd lose my kids forever. So I waited. I recorded. I watched. And I hoped someday someone would care. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Nolan, do you believe your children are currently safe in their father's custody? Emma met his eyes. No, I don't. The judge sat back. Understood. I will take this under advisement. My ruling will be issued Monday. Court adjourned. Emma walked out into the light. And for the first time in nearly a year, she felt it on her face, like the world had shifted even slightly in her favor. But the storm wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Emma didn't expect to sleep that weekend, and she didn't. Instead, she paced the tiny motel floor in silence, staring at the digital clock as it blinked each minute like a slow countdown to fate. She ate instant soup, watched her phone, read the same messages from Maya and Sandra over and over again, but nothing settled her nerves. On Sunday evening, she stood in front of the mirror and practiced her face, not for court but for her children. She imagined Caleb's eyes, skeptical but soft, Maddie's twitchy smile. They wouldn't understand any of this. How could they? All they'd been told was that their mother was sick, that she'd left, that she wasn't safe. They didn't know she was fighting a war behind motel curtains and court doors. Monday came cold and wet. The rain slicked the courthouse steps, and Emma's borrowed flats squished with every step. Reporters gathered again, though fewer than before. The buzz had quieted slightly, attention shifting to fresher scandals, but that didn't matter. This wasn't for headlines anymore. It was for them. Inside the courtroom, the energy was sharp. Derek was there, clean-shaven, tailored, stone-faced. Amanda sat 2 rows back, legs crossed, eyes darting. Emma entered with Sandra. Maya slipped into the bench quietly behind them, clutching her notepad, though Emma noticed her hands were shaking slightly too. The judge took the bench. Papers rustled. Hush fell. This court has reviewed the submitted footage, the corroborating forensic analysis, the newly obtained psychological evaluation, and supporting affidavits from neutral parties. He began, voice firm, clipped. This case has revealed a troubling misuse of legal and psychological systems by the respondent in order to manufacture a narrative unfavorable to the petitioner. Emma's chest froze. She didn't move. The court finds that the initial custody decision was based on incomplete and, in some instances, fraudulent information. Effective immediately, primary custody of Caleb Nolan and Madison Nolan is awarded to Emma Nolan. The air disappeared from her lungs. Sandra squeezed her arm. Maya let out an audible exhale. But the judge wasn't finished. In addition, the matter of financial misappropriation from the children's trust account will be referred to the district attorney's office for potential criminal investigation. The court is also suspending visitation rights for Derek Nolan pending a family court review. Derek stood suddenly, his chair screeching. This is insane. She manipulated the footage. She's unstable, she's dangerous. The judge banged his gavel once. Mr. Nolan, sit down or you'll be held in contempt. Emma didn't turn to look at him. Not once. Her heart thundered in her ears. But her hands were still. Her shoulders steady. She was no longer just a woman trying to be heard. She was a mother bringing her children home. After the ruling, it moved fast. Maya's final article dropped that evening. False diagnoses and hidden cameras. One mother's fight against the system. It went viral within hours. News stations picked it up. A local parenting blog launched a fundraiser to help Emma relocate. But what mattered most came quietly. At 4:45 p.m. that afternoon, a social worker arrived at Derek's house with 2 police officers and a custody transfer order. Emma waited outside in Sandra's car, her hands clenched in her lap, trying not to hyperventilate. The front door opened. Maddie stepped out first, holding a stuffed rabbit. Behind her, Caleb, taller now, unsure, scanning the driveway. Their eyes met hers. Emma stepped out of the car. Neither child ran. They walked slowly, cautiously, until they were close enough to really see her. "Mom," Caleb said, voice cracking. Emma nodded, tears brimming but not falling. "Yeah, baby. It's me." Maddie's lip trembled. "Are you still sick?" Emma crouched, pulling her into her arms. "No, sweetheart. I never was." They didn't say anything else. They just held her. Emma buried her face into the side of Caleb's neck and closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of her children. It was the first time in months that she didn't feel like a ghost. That night, Emma didn't return to the motel. They stayed at Sandra's guest house temporarily, where the walls were warm and the fridge was full. She watched her kids fall asleep in the same bed for the first time in nearly a year. But the story didn't end there, because 2 weeks later something unexpected happened. Maya called. "You're going to want to see this." She forwarded a link. Emma opened it, heart heavy with curiosity. It was a breaking news clip. Authorities have issued an arrest warrant for Martin Reed, a child psychologist who formerly provided evaluations for family court. Reed is accused of falsifying multiple reports in exchange for financial compensation, one of which contributed to a now overturned custody ruling in the Nolan case. Emma stared. Martin, Derek's friend. The man who signed the report that labeled her emotionally unstable. The footage cut to a clip of Reed being escorted out of a house in handcuffs. Maya's voice returned on the line. "They're opening other cases too. Yours cracks something bigger. You didn't just get your kids back, Emma. You kicked a door open." Emma didn't respond. She was watching her children through the living room window. Caleb reading to Maddie. His arm wrapped around her as she pointed at the pictures and made up words. "If. Together. And Derek." He tried to appeal. Of course he did. But his case was weak now. The evidence too damning. The fraud charges began moving forward, and Amanda disappeared from the picture within days of the investigation. The footage Emma had kept, the originals, were now in the hands of Sandra and the district attorney's office. She kept a copy though. Not to punish. Not to dwell. To remember. Weeks passed. Emma found a job at a non-profit that helped women in high-conflict custody cases. Maya published a follow-up article. The Camera in the Wall. How one mother changed the conversation on custody, power, and survival. People reached out. Emails. Messages. Strangers thanking her for showing them it was possible to survive. That the system could be cracked open if you knew where to push. But Emma didn't answer most of them. She didn't want to be a symbol. She wanted to be a mother again. And then, one quiet Saturday, as the kids played in the backyard with a puppy Sandra had surprised them with, Emma opened her laptop and pulled up the final file she'd never watched. Dated the night before she was removed from the house. Derek sitting in the nursery alone. He spoke into the phone, unaware of the silent eye above him. I don't care what she finds. She has no power. Not anymore. She's a nobody. Emma smiled. She closed the laptop. Because now, she wasn't a nobody. She was the mother who came back. The woman who watched, waited, and then shattered every lie with the truth no one expected. They took her kids, her home, her name, but not the camera, and certainly not her voice. Not anymore. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.